my first trip to Nigeria, I stayed with a very wealthy family,
Mm.
and I called myself Fresh Prince of Lagos. 'Cause I'm like, I do not live like this in the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't have drivers. I don't have cooks. I don't have maids. I don't have people working the yard. I don't have a pool boy.
Yeah.
I don't have any of this.
Right.
I'm like sensory overload.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but what I've chosen to do is, regardless of whether I'm around affluent people or not affluent people, I'm like, I'm one of the people.
Mm.
And I think that's what the brand represents, is like you claiming your own identity and you claiming your own connection to this melanin that you've been blessed with. God has put a special sauce in your genes that makes you special. That means that you're bringing an essence into the world that the world needs. The world needs it. The world thrives off of it. We drive everything.
Yeah.
All creativity somehow is connected right back to us. And so I think it's inherent for us. It's imperative for us that we must take advantage of our own identity and we must claim our own identity and we must make the world respect who we say we are.
To another episode of the Pepper Soup Talk Show, where we bring to the table movers and shakers in the African diaspora. Our special guest today, Oche Igboyi, is Nigerian American. Originally born in Nigeria, right? And then
Born here.
Born here.
Yep, born in the U.S.
Hailing from the Midwest.
Yep.
Right, Midwest. He's a multifaceted entrepreneur and creative. Oche has built and developed a number of brands over the years, a lot of which have been in sort of like the arts and fashion kind of space, representing African culture. He's currently working on a new brand, which is actually his namesake. It's called Oche Igboyi. It's a luxury travel accessory brand. And so we're excited to hear all about that. He's also, in addition to that, doing masters right now at Georgetown University in real estate. And Oche and I, we've had a chance to chop it up a little bit previously when it came to real estate at Penn, and just when it comes to financial literacy and education. So we're happy to have him on the show today, Oche, and to just kind of peel back the layers behind, where he came from and where he's at and where he's going. And so with all that said, Oche, I would like to welcome you to the Pepper Soup Talk Show.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Drove a little bit, not too far, but drove a little bit to get here. And it's been one of the things that I've been really excited about. Even the opportunity when we initially looked at the first date to be a part of this. And so I'm really happy to be here today.
You drove out from, was Harrisburg?
Yeah, the Harrisburg area.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we appreciate you making the trip for us, man. I know that I remember when you moved to Harrisburg from Philly. What year was that?
That was in 2018.
What encouraged that move?
Work. So I work with an affordable housing development organization that specializes in low income and extremely low income housing. And so I've been working with the organization since 2018. And it has been a real joy to be able to provide new solutions for people who are really, really close on the spectrum to homelessness, being able to provide housing solutions, but also being able to put a spotlight on things that help them move from close to homelessness to across the spectrum towards home ownership.
The one experience I have with Harrisburg is when I went to go get my real estate license because you had to get it certified in Harrisburg. Yeah, and I was it's I guess kind of like any sort of like capital like part of a state, right? Yeah. But so we could start from the beginning.
Yeah. All right.
Where were you born, and kind of what your experience was like growing up?
So I was born in the Midwest in Indianapolis, Indiana. We call it Naptown. So if anybody ever says you from Naptown, I know they know Indianapolis. They've been there, spent some time there, or got family members that are there. But my experience in Naptown was that I grew up poor. I grew up, my family was like very different from some of my peers in that my mother and stepfather both were in the home. So I had a father in the home, unlike my friends, but I grew up in the same conditions that everybody else grew up in. We were all poor together. And at that time, we lived in a number of public housing. Well, we lived in a public housing community for a number of years. And I thought that anybody who lived in a house was rich. That was kind of my upbringing and my exposure. I didn't see a doctor or a lawyer. Only time I saw a doctor was maybe maybe a handful of times as a young person, and most of the time that was a tragedy that happened when I would see a doctor. So I didn't know anybody who was a doctor or have any doctors in my family or any white collar professionals. I didn't have any exposure, but I did at a young age know that what I saw was not what I wanted out of my life.
Right. And so now being in Indiana, Indianapolis, were you there? Like, what age did you leave in Indianapolis?
I didn't leave until I was 29, 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I lived a long time in Indianapolis, born and raised, went to school, had all my formative years and exposures were there in Indianapolis. And the reason why I came was to go to Penn. Okay. That was the whole reason why I moved out of Indianapolis.
It's Reggie Miller fan.
Yeah. That's You're taking it back.
That's all I know about Indianapolis, Indiana. You know, I'm from New York, so you know, he always broke our hearts.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah, I mean, Oche, first before jumping, I know you got some pepper soup on the table.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure, like, have a little taste of the pepper soup and let us know what you think. This is the Pepper Soup Talk Show.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good start. But
my brothers.
So you spend most of your time like in Indianapolis and stuff like that. So, but what was that sort of transition like for you, going from like Indianapolis to like coming for Penn? And what was that like for you, and how does that impact you as a person?
Yeah, I think I brought a complete different perspective than most of my friends. Number one, I came to Penn in undergrad as a 30-year-old. So, of course, that is way different than most of my peers and my classmates. But coming from the Midwest, I think the values are very different. I remember taking trips here. I was a part of a hip hop group called The Field, award-winning hip hop group, and we traveled in. I thought the whole East Coast was New York City. I thought everything was like New York. So I had it in my mind. I would never, ever, ever live on the East Coast. I would never bring my family to the East Coast. There's too much going on out there. I don't want all those exposures and everything. And so there was a little bit of a culture shock in just getting adjusted to the pace, because things move a lot quicker here than they do in the Midwest. So that was an adjustment for me. But once getting here and getting my feet, really getting grounded, it was really that first semester was like a make or break semester for me within school. Once we got past that, things started to ease up. I started to develop a rhythm and a flow, and that really helped me out and helped my family out with adjusting.
Got you. So now I know you mentioned being in the hip hop group. I noticed when I read your bio, it said that you actually MC also. Yeah. So was that before coming to Penn?
Yeah.
What was can you give us the sort of the backstory to that?
So really what happened for my early hip hop career is Penn happened to it. So one thing that I knew is how much at a point in my life, there was a point in my life where that everything else wrapped around my love for music. So I literally can trace from the time I was maybe 20 years old all the way until I left Indianapolis. Every single job that I had was either directly or indirectly related to someone who appreciated me and music. So I got several jobs where the qualification was a master's degree and I didn't have a bachelor's degree, but they knew who I was through seeing me on stage or seeing me out in the community doing things. And so that was my first love. So once I got to Penn, I knew for sure I can't do that. I can't do that because I'll mess around, get connected into the scene, and just forget about school and just be like, I'm done with that. And so for me, I literally put a hold on. I did maybe one show at Penn, and then after that, I really didn't do anything else in music until years after I graduated.
Well, so now was hip hop and music your main focus before coming to Penn, or what? Okay. Can you take us a little bit deeper into that? Like, what got you into music, and what was that trajectory like? Were you mostly based in Indiana, like, and can you tell us a little bit about about the group you're in?
Yeah. So I was in a group called The Field, and it's three guys. It's myself. My rap name at that time was Ill.
Okay.
So it's Ill, Brill, and Al Pill. And our group together, our name was The Field, and it was a group of, we're all believers in Christ. And so we were the field, meaning the Holy Spirit field. And so we did music, and we got a really good reception from people that were outside of the church. First, we kind of did the church circuit. So we were 2-3 times a week at different people's churches around the city, kind of bouncing back and forth. And then we started to migrate outside the church, do community centers, in clubs, even detention centers, and did something at a prison. So we did a lot of stuff, but we noticed that people felt a connection to our music because of the way that we did music. Wasn't preachy. It wasn't speaking at you, but more speaking with you, and trying to bring a godlike mindset to things that everybody goes through. And so in that, we found that we made some really good connections. So we began to do things in New York, and we started to see ourselves excel. We got our music placed in a movie.
Oh, wow.
Released through Miramax. We got nominated for 5 Underground Music Awards.
Nice.
Nicki Minaj, before she was the Nicki Minaj everybody knows, she was nominated for an Underground Music Award. I think the year that we won the award, we won for Most Promising Unsigned Hip Hop Group in Times Square. And so at the Underground Music Awards. So we had a really good and exciting run. It never really catapulted us into stardom, but we really, really enjoyed being able to make the connections and most important, the impact that we were able to make with doing music.
Look, well, one question I have is, I thank you for that background story. One question I have is, are you still into hip hop?
You can never stop, man.
Absolutely.
You got to pause for a second.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was like, what kind of question is that?
Right.
No, so I asked that because I feel like the way people go about their music careers today is oftentimes different now than even 10 plus years ago. And even just how artists develop and the direction they decide to go as far as looking to get signed versus being an independent artist versus how they're building their brand. How, like, when you were building as an artist, you guys were building as a group. Do you feel like it would have been a different route had you, let's say, been starting now or in this generation?
I think with my drive, absolutely. Absolutely. I had an insatiable drive. So for me, like you cannot put me in the same room as somebody who can benefit me without them knowing who I am, without me coming out with something substantial for the group. I think that it got to a point where our production ability was not quick enough for the opportunities that were being lined up. So we'd bump into somebody like let's take So this is a weird story how we even got connected with the Underground Music Awards. Apollo did an Apollo on tour.
Yeah.
They came to Indianapolis. They had it at Butler University at Clues Hall, which is one of the premier performance or speaking event venues for Indianapolis. So it was at Clues Hall. It was a competition. So there were over 300 groups. We made it down to the finalists.
Wow.
And this is who is going to New York. And it was Apollo style. So you got to have your people in the building. They got to cheer for you and everything. We had a good reception of people cheering for us, but we didn't quite make it. So we didn't make it to the finals, but the host, I think it was Monique was the host. She's like, I like y'all.
Yeah.
I like what y'all doing.
Yeah.
Why don't y'all come to the Apollo? So they brought us, or they invited us out to the Apollo. So while we were here, we're like, all right, let's line some stuff up. So we went to SOBs. We went to a couple of other venues, the New Yorican, and we performed. And that's how we got connected with the guys with the Underground Music Awards, because they were throwing an event at SOBs. And that's kind of how we got plugged in. But we also bumped into the person who ended up getting our music connected with the film.
Yeah.
But it's really just like being in the venue, we knew if we could just get a foot in, that's all that we needed. That's all that we need is just put me in the same room. I'll work the room. I'll figure it out. I'll work it out. I don't quite have that same drive with music today. And I can say that honestly. I do still have a deep passion and love for music, and I still create music. But at that time, if the market was as open as it is to people, number one, with an alternate voice, number two, that's willing and ready to do the work, the dogged work of doing it independently, like a La Russell, like a Toby Nwigwe. If the market was at this point, what we were shooting for is what they are manifesting. And so for us, it falls right in line with who we are as a group. And our passion and our drive is just to expose people to a different lifestyle than what's being promoted through normal music.
Sounds like they said it was the field, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like the field walked. So some of these guys today can run in a way. I feel like, when it comes to music, building a music career, and we had the co-founder of Rec Philly on our show, and he talks about artists as he calls them creative entrepreneurs. Yeah, and I feel like there's so much to learn from that route, and I'm sure that you've brought into building businesses from those experiences. Before we get into that, though, can you talk a little bit about your Penn experience? Yeah, I feel like Sekou and I both went to Penn. Yeah, and the road we went was like the more typical road, right? And I feel like a lot of us, we could have a more narrow view on life, especially at that time. And when someone like you said you came to Penn at 30 years old. Yeah, so in a lot of ways you almost like broke the mold. Right, like this was a non-traditional route. Yeah. Can you talk about what your Penn experience was like, and then we can get it to the business side?
I think the most telling thing about Penn, beyond it being a world-class institution, beyond being a place that you can go if you want to literally change the world, outside of that, I got here an hour early today. So I was looking for a restaurant. I'm like, I can't find nowhere that I know around here. So I just drove down to campus and then went to Wharton and used the restroom. And I felt like, man, like I don't have any connection. There's literally I could be mistaken and I could be carried off campus by security and nobody would know the wiser. Nobody would say, oh, he's an alum here. Oh, he's connected to this institution in any kind of way. And I'm like, wow, it's that way by design. And that's the immediate thing that I felt when I came on campus. And it really hit I think the first emotion that I was conscious of being at Penn was anger. And it was anger because I'd already been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'd already launched businesses. I'd already done things, and I went into the kind of sector of Wharton entrepreneurship and Wharton social entrepreneurship, and I kind of worked in that vein. I had a I was a fellow of Wharton Social Impact, and that was kind of my day job. And I just looked at, like, they're taking kids that are 16, 17, 18, 19. Well, some of them start as early as that. So it's crazy. But they're taking those kids and they'll put 100K into their venture over here. They'll put 50K over here, 30K over here. And I'm like, they haven't even worked at McDonald's. They don't have any experience doing anything at all. And these resources are just being like heaped on them. And I'm like, where I come from, I see entrepreneurs that have been at it for 30 years and can't get a loan from the SBA, are not seen to be knowledgeable in their field. They can be a master barber or a master dry cleaner or this or that or whatever it is, and can't even get a loan. But these kids are being given money that they never, ever, ever have to pay back. And it just made me angry immediately. Like, wow, like all of this access that, once again, it's intentional and it's by design. These are who we see are worthy, and we can see giving them 100K, them blowing it off, never ever launching their product or their business or whatever, getting it off the ground. And we see that as a great learning experience. Whereas someone that's a block away that could have been struggling, trying to develop an idea that literally could change all of our existence, and we're like, well, you don't have a good credit score, or you don't have this, or you don't have that, or you don't have this. And there isn't the logical connection that, hey, they may have the solution that will change our lives, or they may have the thing that we're waiting for. And so there's this quote, I don't know who said it, and I know several people have said it, but they said that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity isn't, access isn't. And so at the end of the day, I think there is no better picture of concentrated access and others not having access to that same concentrated opportunity as Penn is. And so for me, I even had someone tell me, or someone ask me, they had their kids on campus, and they were like, hey, I just want to pull you to can you tell me, my kid is thinking about going here. What would you say about Penn? And I said, if you want to get a regular job, do not go here. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the effort. It's not worth the debt. It's not worth any of it. If you want a regular job, if you want to change the world, if you want to sit on the UN Council, if you want to be, if you want to lead a country, like, this is the school you go to. And so that kind of encompasses, the dichotomy in the yin and the yang of my opinion of Penn.
Man, that's a powerful perspective.
It is a powerful perspective.
Yeah, because seeing it from that lens, also having lived a lot of life before then, right? Like you coming in with just like a different lens,
right?
And man, that's powerful, man.
Well, like I said, it's just like this experience of like coming from the have-not to actually being in a space where you're dealing with excessive amount of privilege, excessive amount of opportunity, and it's just like sometimes it's just kind of like it's okay for you to, and thank you for being so transparent and vulnerable about that you were actually angry, because most of the time some people hold back in expressing that emotion because they feel like when I'm in a place like Penn, I should be grateful. Yeah. You know what I mean? What am I complaining about, right? Like I can't say nothing about how I truly feel. So, but at this point, it's like, it's important for us to convey how a lot of us come in contact with a space like Penn, right? And how it impacts us personally, but how it also impacts you professionally, right? Yeah. And I think it's a better way to really like move forward
Yeah.
and how to maximize your experience.
Yeah.
But that's thank you so much for that, Oche. Like that was really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that Aki and I looked at each other. We felt that. We felt that. But we never expressed it at the moment where we were supposed to. We kind of started expressing it afterward. But but when we come in contact with somebody now who attending Penn, we kind of want to tell you like, hey, this is a real experience. Like, and we're not telling you this because this is how we want your experience to be. We just want to make sure that you have awareness of it, how you can maximize that opportunity. Because it is still like you said, it is still the greatest, one of the top schools in the country where you meet people who eventually are on that path to change the world, right? But again, let's never underestimate the power of the individual experience that come into Penn.
You know, the one thing that I think that Penn could improve above everything. There, no institution is perfect, but the one thing that I think would take it even beyond competition. Penn is the school by far that produces the most billionaires of any institution, above Harvard, above Yale, above any other institution. More billionaires come from Penn, and the highest net worth earning power of a college graduate is the University of Penn. But I think that it's shortcutting itself and it is hindering itself because of the ultra competitive nature of the school. So if I'm going to school with you and you will one day be the president of Nigeria, and the only thing I know is competition. I never try to work with you on anything. I never try to get to know you as a person. I never try to be a part of your project. You're launching a new startup or you're launching a new initiative. I never try to collaborate with you on anything. And I don't want you to be a part of mine either because I see you as competition. You become the president of Nigeria. One day I'm in Nigeria. I can always say I went to school with the person who's the president of Nigeria, but I can't say I can call him. I can't say he knows me or he remembers me. I can't say that because it's been inbred in me that this is my competition. This is not. So the idea of the network, it falls to shambles and it really never reaches its full potential because you never really accelerated those connections. You never energized the synergy that comes from being around so much greatness and what that could accomplish without bringing, like, we're only collegial if we're part of a Greek group or if we're part of a different organization or if we're a part of a sport, but just regular students, or if we, Lord forbid, we're a part of different groups, then we don't have that connection. So I think that, Penn is just one example, but I think just as a nation, what we can really benefit from is understanding, like, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I can work with other people that are smart as me or smarter than me or not as smart as me, and I can still accomplish my goals a lot quicker than I can by trying to do that by myself.
For sure. Yeah, but stronger together, right? So now, after Penn, what was your next step following that?
So after Penn, I took a step. It's very interesting. I moved in.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So what was your degree? Graduated from Penn?
It was political science, international relations.
Okay. Yeah, that was my major as well.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. You started to sound like a politician a little bit. I said, wait a minute. I said, we got somebody here who really have a bigger aspiration. But go ahead, Uche.
Yeah. So I went to banking, in mortgage banking. I worked for a company, Freedom Mortgage, and it was an experience. But one thing that I can say good about the organization is that I felt like I studied harder for my mortgage license than I ever did at Penn.
Mm.
I leaned into that thing.
Yeah.
Like I got our scores. I was like top of the class.
Yeah.
And I was never in every class that I took at Penn. I was never top of the class. I got my degree, but I was never top of the class at Penn. But once I got out and went into that, it was just a lot of information in a very, very short amount of time that we had to digest and had to execute on getting our individual license. We got more than like 24 licenses, and each state license is a different exam. And so going through that process was a really cool process. The organization, it was
I know about freedom.
it was not as I can't say the same about the organization, but I can say that process that they put us through, I really appreciated that because it made me dig and find something in me that I felt like I hadn't demonstrated in a long time.
Nah, that's what's up. That's what's up. I remember, I think this was back in 2016, or probably 2017. Because when I was first getting into real estate, I know that you were also in that lane, like real estate, mortgages, all of that. So yeah, I definitely knew you had gone into that space.
Yeah.
So were you mostly in the mortgage industry? Did you also go into real estate, the real estate side also, as far as like investments or sales? Like,
I never did go into investments or sales outside of short-term rentals.
Because it's interesting. I remember it was actually the first ever. So I went to this event back in I think it was 2017. It's fall 2017.
I think I know which one you're talking.
And it was at the Eastern Lofts, in North Philly. And I remember you were there. That was literally like I started taking steps towards pursuing real estate from that event. And I remember vividly that you were at that event. There were a bunch of people at that event who like I either keep in touch with or I see around today. And like that was just like a very pivotal moment for myself. I know for some other people also. No, I just wanted to mention that. That
was a pivotal event for me as well in being exposed to actionable knowledge,
right?
Because there's academic knowledge, but then there's actionable knowledge, and that actionable knowledge gives you that opportunity to take steps on creating the future that you really want and the life that you really want. And so I appreciated that. I didn't feel like I was as well positioned to take the actions that I wanted to take at the time. And so I didn't acquire properties, but what I did do is I moved into doing short-term rentals and doing them with properties I was renting, actually renting those out and doing pretty well on Airbnb.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
So you were into Airbnb?
Yeah.
But, that's what's up. How was that experience?
Oh, it was a good one. It was a good one. It was amazing. The market, even where I was, I felt like maybe I'm not in the right market. Maybe there's other opportunities. But in every market that I did pretty well.
Word.
Yeah. So I had maybe about 4 properties that I've had on there. Yeah.
That's what's up. So we want to get into your business, Oche Igboyi. Can you tell us about how that came about and what inspired it?
So the inspiration behind Oche Igboyi, it really started or it derived from the creative energy that came through doing music and looking for different outlets. So I started back into music, or I jumped back into music in 2020. Okay. Like a lot of people refound their passions during the pandemic. Yeah, that was one of the ones for me. So I began rhyming again and producing and mixing and just really examining forms of the art that I hadn't even examined before. The only thing I had done before then was kind of just write and perform. So really giving a full view of it and developing my own merch, and the brand really grew out of me developing that merch, that I began to look at, okay, there's other things that I could do, there's other things that I could design and I could create, and I could leverage some of these tools to be able to create some real cool stuff and be able to share that with the world. And so that's kind of the infancy of Oche Igboyi, and what it's grown into is really to be a passion for connecting the continent with the diaspora in meaningful ways. I think that's a lot of people have this have that same passion in what they're doing in different lanes, and I know this is a great venue and a great vehicle for us to be able to connect. But really, I look at the art that I create and the products that I create as being an expression of helping people connect under the umbrella of we are all one people. Not meaning kumbaya, every race is one race, but meaning that all Black people have this connected heritage that we can share in our expression no matter where we are. And so that's what I hope that people are able to experience when they get a piece from my collection. They're able to say, hey, this is something that, number one, is made by somebody who has a passion for connecting us, but also this connects me in my own special way to the continent.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Right. And so far, like, there's just a lot. So there's just a lot of people now finding some meaningful ways to really connect back to the continent, right? Some people might just look at this and say something about, oh, you just trying to materialize on this connection for you to really like make profit. But for you, is like, what do you say to those people who view your sort of like, your company in that sense?
Yes.
And have you had any sort of like anybody really like push you to that point where you like, hey, you kind of like using the culture to really like make profit, or are you really like building this sort of like, you trying to like, you really want people to get connected back to the motherland?
Yeah. So for me, I say yes outright, in that that's exactly what I'm trying to do, but it's not a bad thing. I haven't had a person approach me directly like that, but I know that's something that that is easy. That's an easy conclusion to come to. And I say, yes, I want to capitalize on every connection that I have. Everything about me is something that should create value. So if it creates economic value for myself and for my family, then I'm absolutely 100% with developing skill sets that do create streams of income and pathways for me to be able to hand things down to my children and to my children's children. And even the skill sets of watching me build it from the ground up, I think is something that is laudable and that is positive. But I think the problem is that, not that we don't try to capitalize on our connection to the continent. It's the fact that we don't and others do. It's the fact that the fabrics that we wear are fabrics that come from other countries, that the patterns that we love, other countries are creating those patterns, and they're making millions. And then we're buying those patterns from them, and then we're making very small margins on that same material that is truly ours. And I think one of the biggest things is that we don't have enough protectionism among things that we create. Excuse me. Being political science majors, we kind of understand economic protectionism and how it allows a country to get a grasp on something that is unique to them. So whether it's a natural resource, whether it's a skill, talent, whether it's a finished product that they produce in their country, making sure that they are able to get the maximum amount of value out of it before an outside group can partner with them and get a piece of the pie is something that I think that we don't do enough. I had a friend who told me, a very good friend from South Africa, who said, Black people in America you're just too generous. Like, you share everything. And she was specifically talking about music. She's like, that was our thing. And you guys let them have it. They took it. and now they're rich off of it. And so many times we look at artists and act like artists are the people who are benefiting the most from music, and any artist will tell you that they are not. Their label is, their manager is, every other person at the table is in a position to benefit from their talent more than they are able to benefit from their talent. And so for us, I think it's important for us to have a mindset of like, yo, this is me, this is mine, and I will benefit from it. But me benefiting from it doesn't mean that I have to put out something that hurts another person. I think that's where I draw the line. If what I'm doing and me benefiting me is hurting you, then I have to go back and re-examine, is what I'm doing really worth it? But as long as it's not, and if it's in fact building you up, then I think that I absolutely should. And I think other people should as well.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
I just want to make sure we pause right there, because that was, Uche, what you just shared is so deep. You know, sometimes you got to pause and dissect, because I just think most of us are coming to that understanding of like the culture, like the African and Black culture has been there, and there's so many people who have actually benefited from it. But we also starting to see like big voices now, like Akon, for example. You know, Akon was expressing that like if majority of like African American go back to Africa and invest in Africa, like the country will be extremely wealthy. And now we start to see this wave. I'm not sure if it's like driven by Afrobeat, if it's social media, but I really want to tap your brain on like, I'm not saying like what we've seen is like a huge eruption of like this of interest in like investing into the culture and also benefiting from the culture. But we're seeing like this urgency now where people are actually like looking into like traveling more to Africa, investing more into the African materials, like having this real connection. And there seems to be a lot of economic benefit. Like a country like Ghana is really the one, like, you know, Tanzania. So what's your thought on like why we're seeing this sense of urgency now, and how does that impact your business?
Yeah, I think that the desire for Black people to be connected to Africa is palpable. It's tangible. It's insatiable. It's a deep, deep, deep urge and drive for us to be connected before we ever can recognize it, vocalize it, or actualize it. It's there. It's innate in us. And so I think that as more people are exposed, and social media is doing a great job of that through Afrobeat, through Amapiano, through other forms of music and culture, through seeing Africans, whether they are from the UK or from other places in the world, seeing them on our television screens, seeing them across our social media feeds. I think what it's doing is exposing us to a different view of Africa than what we were used to. But I think that it also is allowing us to understand I have more in common with them than I do with them.
And interesting. It's so interesting that you say that, because I was actually listening to Steve Harvey. He actually said something like that. He's like, he was amazed when he went back to Ghana. He went to South Africa. He's starting to be like how much he was able to relate. How much did he realize like they actually think we the coolest thing being Black. Like there's so much connectivity. And that's just something powerful for someone like him to share. Because now it's becoming this ripple effect. But go ahead. I just want you to continue to expand on this, because we see this movement. And we trying to have an understanding of it. Like, why is the movement picking up so fast now?
I think
who's benefiting from it now?
Who's benefiting? I think that's still to be seen. I think that's kind of up in the air, because anything, the other man is always looking to benefit from the brother man. Sometimes the brother man has to wake up and see that, hold up, like he's making double, triple, 10 times what I'm making off of what I'm doing. And so it sometimes we find ourselves in positions, and many times it's way too late before we figure out what we thought was a good thing was really us being cheated. What we thought was a great opportunity was really somebody else. It was a great opportunity for someone else. And so for us, I think as we are beginning to wake up, I think it's important for us to have those direct conversations. One of the pivotal moments in my life was that I think it was Philando Castile when that happened, when he was murdered. I was in a lounge in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm chilling. I'm there doing market research for this mobile app that I was launching. And I'm meeting with entrepreneurs and everything. So afterwards, it was like, hey, why don't we go out, hang out at the lounge? These are young professionals, some entrepreneurs, some got jobs at places like Deloitte and other places. So we're sitting in this lounge and the TV is on and it's like breaking news. Philando Castile, blah, 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 blah. And they're telling the story of what happened to him. And I kid you not, everybody at the table was looking at the TV, and at the same time, almost on cue, they did like this. Everybody looked at me. I'm like, I really don't know what to say. Like, I have no words, but I'm like, that's kind of America. That's how things go. And I'm like, and everybody else, you know, is born, raised, lived their whole life in Lagos, except me. And they're like, so if they treat you like that in America, why don't you just come home? Why don't you just come home? And when they said that to me, it hit me so hard because I never heard someone say, I want you here. You belong here. You are one of us. You belong to us. You are one of ours. And I told them, I said, I couldn't answer that question. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that question. But one thing that I can say is that whenever you come in contact with another person that was not born on this soil that comes here, say that same thing to them. You'll change their life.
Dope.
That's powerful.
That's really powerful.
Very powerful.
Thank you for dropping that gem, Oche.
Yeah, I don't think I'm answering questions, but I do got some stories.
Oh, no.
This is good, man. This is good. And I just think that this is really what we are trying to understand, right? We in this constant search for meaning, this constant search for like, where do we really belong? But I'm really optimistic about like the future in terms of like where the perceptions is changing in a way. So I'm just excited to see like how much people are like really into like, you know, perfect example of like, you know, we like to use music like Burna Boy coming in, having a concert now. It's like, it's sold out. You know, you're not just sitting here like, you know, we went from being like sort of called like booty scratcher to like now like it's kind of cool being African, right? And now we're just sitting there trying to, but it goes back to what you were saying, right? It's like a great teachable moment when you get people now who were never interested in the continent, who were never interested in like the culture, the food and stuff like that. Now they're asking questions like that. So those are great teachable moment. And what a powerful moment it is to start off by telling somebody like, hey, come home. You belong here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great start. You know, so that's really powerful that you say that.
And I think that it's important that like it's important for us to aggressively invite people in because we have a lot of alternate experiences. You know, the concept of you know, African booty scratcher, like even I grew up, so the way that I grew up was in the projects in the US. Nothing about my upbringing felt African.
Mm.
Like my mother she isn't from the continent. So I grew up with her side of the family, had a stepfather who wasn't from the continent directly. And so my whole upbringing was just black, right? And we're running around calling each other African booty scratchers. So I didn't even know the weight of somebody who grew up with African parents or who God forbid actually was born on the continent and came here and was called that and how that made them feel. Because for me it was a derogatory term. It wasn't a term of endearment, but at the same time it didn't hold that weight. It was like, you African booty, no, you African booty scratch. So it was kind of like anybody could call anybody that, but I didn't know until I got older, and really until I heard Toby say it. It never clicked. Like people like in some communities, people only called the Africans African booty scratchers, and that had a whole different otherness to it. Like you're not one of us. You don't belong to us. You're somebody else. And I think that's why it's important for us to be aggressive in the love that we share to each other. Like if I go anywhere and I find out somebody is from Africa, like my wife, she'll just be like, here you go again. I don't care if you're from Algeria. I don't care if you're from Egypt, South Africa, Tanzania. I'm like, my brother, what's up, man? What's up? And so it's all love. Even if they don't want it to be love, it's only love coming from me. Like I don't care, because I need to be aggressive and making sure you know that I feel kindred to you. I feel connected to you. I feel like we are one, even if our skin tone don't look nothing like each other. Just that diversity of you being a part of the continent is something that I want to be connected to. And I think one thing that I learned and that I really came to consciousness in my time at Penn, that Akon really I think he ratified this. I don't think he said this directly, but his point was this, is that Africa is, whether it's great or whether it's not, it is what all of us make it, whether you're on the continent or off the continent. And that's one of the reasons why I can't say I can't be othered, but I don't feel othered when I'm in a group of all South Africans or all Ghanaians or all anything. I don't feel like an other, because I'm like, I'm as responsible for the condition of Africa as you are. You don't hold any more responsibility than me. So if it's not good, I have to blame me for that. If it is good, I'm a part of that. And so that's kind of how I see my role, and I see our role, even as the diaspora, as we see that, like, if we stay away from Africa, that's part of the reason that's why it is the way that it is. If we get involved, that's part of the reason why it is the way that it is.
Don't let that go.
And I hope, like, there's so much, like, Ikea and I, like, soaking up right now, even like us being African and you dropping that. And I know there's a moment in our life where we kind of contribute to not like that type of mindset. But I do think is having that type of mindset where we feel that we're responsible for the condition of the continent, especially those of us who are like abroad, is gonna be that sort of a chain reaction for change for good, right? Because often, like, being an African, I have family members or like friends who are like, oh, you just went home. You need to stay away from X, Y, and Z. You need to stay away from, like, like we get people who actually drive that narrative. But I do think this is where, like you
need to be careful when you're on.
But I think it's the power of words, right? The power 100%, of 100%. Words about, like, the continent, the culture. And you realize, like you say, how we make people feel. But, like, it's how do we remove ourselves from, like, labeling or like get into ingraining this sense of othersness into our mindset, because I also think it's really it's all mental. There's this like when you look at Africa, there's a sense like, oh, it has poor infrastructure, or like it's economically, like it doesn't have the money. But I do think a lot of the things that's like stopping us from like really elevating the continent, the culture where it's supposed to be at, it starts with the mindset. And it goes back to what Oche is saying, right? And can you connect this back to your company? Is this really why, like, you feel like your company is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you see your company as a driving part of this, like
Yeah.
connecting back people?
So I think it's the dare to define. Like, I didn't ask permission. I was born who I am, right? If I had to paint it my way, maybe I wouldn't have been born in the U.S. Maybe I would have. My first trip to Nigeria, I stayed with a very wealthy family, and I called myself Fresh Prince of Lagos. I'm like, I do not live like this in the U.S. I don't have drivers. I don't have cooks. I don't have maids. I don't have people working the yard. I don't have a pool boy. I don't have any of this.
Right.
I'm like sensory overload.
Right.
And so, but what I've chosen to do is, regardless of whether I'm around affluent people or not affluent people, I'm like, I'm one of the people. And I think that's what the brand represents, is like you claiming your own identity and you claiming your own connection to this melanin that you've been blessed with. God has put a special sauce in your genes that makes you special. That means that you're bringing an essence into the world that the world needs. The world needs it. The world thrives off of it. We drive everything. All creativity somehow is connected right back to us. And so I think it's inherent for us. It's imperative for us that we must take advantage of our own identity, and we must claim our own identity, and we must make the world respect who we say we are. One of the things, when you brought up Burna Boy, it's two things Burna Boy did that I was just like, man, that's my guy. I never met him. I've never been exposed to him in person, but just the stuff that I've seen through his interviews.
I think you're going to meet Burna Boy, man. I think soon.
Just the stuff that I've seen this brother say. Like, so when they had him on, I don't know if it was Coachella. It might have been Coachella, but it was one of the big festivals. And he said, take me off the bill. Not like, take you off the bill. He's not coming. He's like, look at Beyonce's name and look at my name. She's like, Beyonce's name is like this. My name is like that. It's like, take me off. I'm not doing it. They're like, no, you got to do it. You got to do it. He's like, well, you put my name up like that. And that's what they did. I'm like, okay. And then fast forward, there was another example with Beyonce. It's like, Beyonce even sampled your music, and he's like, good for her. If I were her, I would sample my music too. It's like, you're not gonna get a guy who is out here like, oh, I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity. Nah, this is your opportunity to have me be a part of it. And so I think that same kind of confidence, not cockiness, but confidence in like, no, I have something to bring to the table. Whether you know it, whether you recognize it, that's on you. But as for me, I'm going to walk in what I have, and what I bring to the table is of value. And so for me with the brand, it's more about you claiming your own value. I make my own designs. I create them. I've developed relationships with manufacturers and distributors so that it can go directly to customers. And so I've done this with the mindset that, yo, I'm not waiting for somebody to give me permission. I'm not taking it before a council. I'm not asking for anyone. But those who appreciate it. They see it. They're like, I like that. I want to be a part of that, or I want to purchase that. And that's who I do it for.
Man, you are preaching right now.
Definitely. So can you show us the product?
Even before we get to that, because I just want to recap that Burna Boy moment, because that moment where Burna Boy asked to have his name taken off the bill was also that moment where, because I think he had also said that, you know, he's an African giant. That was what actually that audacity is actually what catapulted him. Because then from there, African Giant album ended up I remember going to see Burna Boy in concert back in 2018. And you know, it was a great concert, nice venue and everything. But then between that point and then a few years later, where he had, he was now a mainstream artist. And I remember I went to go see Burna Boy again when he performed at Madison Square Garden last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there were white people, Indian people, speaking Yoruba.
Yeah.
Speaking Yoruba.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this.
Yeah.
I said this is.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
I mean, just how much African culture is just pervading the just like the America, but like the world and overall is powerful. And one other point I want to highlight is just around your brand. I've heard someone say that Black people for so long have been creating value and have been really good at creating value, but haven't been able to capture value and haven't been good at capturing that value that they create. And so I feel like, these kinds of brands that we talk about, and including the brand that you're building, this is like one example of being able to capture that value that you also create, and that we also create. So no, but if you want to.
Yeah, if you just want to give us a little demonstration of your product, because I do think it's important for people to see what you making out of here.
Absolutely. So this one is called the Humble Roller. This is art that I created. Traditional art, would really a nod to many of the cultural traditions that we have on the continent. It captures the color and the aesthetic of being connected to traditional rituals and ceremonies, and it's just about the humility that exudes our people, but there's a greatness in the humility that comes from our people. And so this particular piece is a roller that actually can go into the overhead carrying. Yeah. So this is a carry-on. Well, we did it like that to make sure that it's accessible for anybody that's taking a quick trip or who is taking a longer trip but wants to make sure that they have a piece of luggage that makes a statement. And so what I try to tell people though is that if you want the lowest price, don't call me. If you want quality, you call me. Call me. If you want that lowest price, I'm not your guy. I can't get you the lowest price. So everything that we do.
Can you put it up again real quick? Yeah. A second. We could just move back.
Move back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we can see the play. Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
yeah. So that's,
you can see it in the camera.
That's the Humble Roller. It's a great piece. It comes fully secured. So if you want to put your code in there and everything, you have that opportunity. One thing when traveling internationally that I learned on the continent is that you better have a lock on your luggage, because if you don't have a lock on your luggage, you might get your luggage back, but you might not have nothing in it. And so you're gonna learn because it's the exact opposite in the U.S. If you put a lock on your luggage and it goes to TSA, they're gonna pop that lock. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, we want to see what's in there.
Right.
And so you got to be savvy enough to go through that. So this has the opportunity for you to be locked or for you to be unlocked, and it's a great piece. It's very
the lock is embedded into the suitcase.
Yeah. So it's just a combination lock that you're able to.
It's a really nice suitcase. Yeah. Very high quality.
And so this is just one of the roller pieces. We have an assortment of roller pieces on the site on OcheIgboyi.com. If those who want to claim the brand and want to let people know what the brand is, then we have this piece right here. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud all day. Oche Igboyi. And for those who don't know kind of where the name comes from, so Igboyi is my family last name from my father's side of the family. And Oche means king. So this is a name this isn't my birth name. This isn't the name that I was born with, but this is the name that I've taken on for a number of reasons. First is that I studied Yoruba at Penn. I studied Zulu. I've studied some other languages, and I have a name in each one of those languages. In Yoruba, my name is Babagbomi, means my father hears me or my father knows me. Sponelo is my name in Zulu, and that means the one who sets the example. And I talked to my sister, And I'm like, yo, I don't have any name in Idoma, which is my tribe. I don't have an Idoma name. What should it be? And she gave me the name Oche. And so that's what I've been going by since. And so that's the name of the brand and where it comes from. And our king of our tribe is called the Oche Idoma. And so but there are several people. It's a very common name among Idoma people, Oche. So that's kind of where that name comes from.
Word.
And so, but not only that, since you said something, we don't only have that the rollers. We have some duffel bags, but even beyond the duffel bags, we got some shoes. These are called the Idoma Flies.
Oh, we got some shoes too?
Yeah. We got the premium shoes. Got a big once again.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
If you want the lowest price, this ain't what you want. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm just
presentation is.
I'm so impressed by the suitcase, and I know a lot of our viewers and listeners right now are like, most likely, I hope they feel the way I do, but like, we might have to talk after this. See if we can get a little bit of One Your Love discount there.
Yeah, we can work that out. Yeah, work that out.
But go ahead.
And we actually have affiliate programs, so we definitely can work that out. So this is the Idoma Fly. This is all custom artwork that we have. And this is, once again, Idoma Fly by Oche Igboyi. These are constructed overseas, and we ship them directly to our consumers. So anyone who goes on the site
overseas, where exactly?
So this one is actually made in Italy. Okay. So this is manufactured and everything in Italy, and then it ships directly worldwide.
Wow.
Anyone who purchases it. And so these are, crocodile skin, bada bing. They got I didn't do the Idoma color. The Idoma colors are red and black. But I did do our sister tribe, which is Tiv, which is from the same area in Benue. And so that's a shout out to the Tiv right there, showing the connectedness, between tribes. And then also on the tongue, it's also got the custom art as well. And so and it says Idoma Fly on the front. Bada bing. And so these are just one of the things that we have on the site. Right. So beyond the travel luggage, we also have shoes so that you can travel in style. You want to feel good, you want to look good when you're out, and then you also want to have some connectedness to your culture, and you want to represent that through what you're doing. So some of the things that we do are overt, like the humble roller. The artwork is very overt in Africanness. And then sometimes it's just a shout out, it's just a nod to the culture and people being able to say, man, that's nice. Where you get that from? And you're able to tell them the story.
Yeah, it's a gateway, right? Yeah. Because it's just like what we wear, like it's a true representation of who we are and what we're spending our money on. And I just think that what resonated with me about these products is like, not only like there's a powerful personal connection to it, but it's like the high quality of it, right? And because I think if you're gonna do something like this, sometimes people don't think about, this is expensive, but at long, like you want to get something that you could wear for just for one event, or you want to invest in something that you could keep it for a long time and it becomes valuable over time. So Oche, I just want to thank you for creating a product, not just to create a hashtag.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm telling you, man. Listen, there are people out there, man, like using the culture and creating it to create a hashtag where it's just so instant gratification, right? Yeah. But you literally creating a product here that's a game changer, because you could either spend your money on your product or you could go and spend your money on some Gucci bag or some Louis Vuitton. Right. But this is that same qualities that you are making right now, and people need to understand there are actually like African product out there that have the same or better expect like qualities. You know,
And-
so shout out to you for that, man. I just
And
wanted to say that.
the idea is, of course, we would love to vertically integrate. This is made in Europe. This is made in Italy. But guess what we're doing? We're doing the exact same thing, that they have done for generations,
Yeah.
which is taking their raw product,
Yeah.
upgrading it,
Put in the
selling it,
Yeah.
and making our benefit off of it, making our profit off of it. And sometimes I think we as communities of color forget the idea. Like one person had to ask me, so what is the purpose of any business? I was like, to make dope products or to serve a need, to fulfill a need? No, it's to make money. That is the purpose of any business. Now, in that making money, there is a fulfilling of a need, or there is serving a demographic, or there is bringing creativity or art to the market. And I think that sometimes as Black business owners, we have so much passion about our purpose for being in business that we forget that it's the money that makes it sustainable to keep the purpose moving forward.
Amen.
And without that money, you can have all the good intentions in the world, but you won't be able to make that impact that you want to make. And so I've decided to make quality products that sometimes at a premium price that allow me to go back and reinvest and then do other things. And one of the biggest things that we're excited about is we just developed a partnership with a brand, with a retailer that was in DC and Baltimore, but now they have their flagship moved to Baltimore, and it's called Nubian Human. And Nubian Human is the epitome of connecting the diaspora and the continent. So the owner of the store curates brands from all over the world and brings them into a retail environment where people who have never been exposed to anything that's from the continent, or from people who are making African artware or other supplies for them, to be able to be exposed to this. And I became aware of Nubian Human even before going into their store. I learned about them through, they do an event called the Black Love event. This event is, I've never felt like I was on the continent more than being at this event. And I do a lot of, the Africa conferences and stuff like that. So that's always a good fun. But this event that they did, it was beyond any.
Wow.
They had like a dozen DJs set up in different locations. They had different performers performing. They had a bookstore that was open to like 3 a.m. You see people at 1, 2 a.m. sitting reading Black books and stuff. They had play rights. They had a filming showing of a film, and then a QA discussion after. It has so many different feels from room to room of the event. And I just love the way that they encompassed, it felt like all of Blackness in one place, in one event. And I feel like, man, if this ain't what heaven looked like, it's at least what Africa looked like. This was a beautiful thing. So it's dope for us to be able to have our product in their stores and in their online store as well. So shout out to Nubian Human.
Shout out to Nubian Human, man. Shout out to your brand, Oche Igboyi. This has been an incredible episode. We appreciate your wisdom, your time, you sharing your story, your product with us. We have just a few more questions for you. Round out this interview. Always like to ask our guests. You're drinking pepper soup right now, and you're on the One You Love Pepper Soup talk show. We got to ask you, and we know you're well traveled. Which country makes the best jollof rice?
This is when we lost track. Count.
Oh man, my brother.
Go back and count.
So I would say outside of Nigeria. So once we get past Nigeria, I can say the one that really
Right.
Floored me was Senegal.
Yes.
Man, Senegal, man, they do something special.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, yeah, I like that a lot.
Right. So today, what we said, you going with Senegal or Nigeria?
I mean, outside of Nigeria. Come on now.
Outside of Nigeria.
Come on, I gotta go back home. I got
We might have to start saying other than Nigeria to Nigerians.
All right, so
You know,
today
of course,
we'll give it to Senegal, right? So
we'll give it Senegal.
all
We'll give
right,
it Senegal.
So Senegal won today. My last question, which is this: so you drop a lot of gems today. Honestly, we appreciate you for sharing your experience with us and knowledge, like really deep knowledge and knowledge that we all need to hear sometimes to really like. I feel like what you share with us, well, it's something that we need in order for us to build a foundation. You know, so I appreciate your knowledge, man. But like, if you could look at you, go back in time and look at a 13-year-old version of yourself, sitting in front of you right now, given everything you know now, given everything you've been through, what would you say to him?
I would say, what if I told you that everything you want in life, you're going to have? Now walk like it. Walk like you know it right
Say
now.
that again, brother, because that was deep.
That was a one.
That was a good one. You know, we asked a lot of our guests this question, but can you just expand a little bit what you mean?
Yeah. I feel like I literally have lived multiple lifetimes in my time on earth. I feel like the lives that I've lived have been so distinct and unique in their own verticals that if I lived this life, you wouldn't believe I lived that life. But I'm like, I lived both of them. And sometimes at the exact same time. And I'm like, it's confusing to me sometimes. Like, this is crazy. But the amount of great opportunities that I have had, the many people who have invested in me, and given me a chance to experience some really, really, really amazing things. I've had many of my dreams have come true, but I worried a lot. And I think I still do. I dream new dreams now. So I have bigger and better dreams for myself, for my family, for my community. And what if I just chose to walk like it's going to happen? How much more enjoyable would a ride be for everybody? You know what I mean? Like if I walk like it is, it doesn't matter what I see or what I'm experiencing right now.
It's that it goes back to that burner boy mentality. The burner boy mentality.
The burner boy mentality.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that's what I would try my hardest to convince my 13-year-old self. You're going to get there. You're going to get it. You're going to get exactly what you're looking for. But enjoy right now, knowing that it's coming.
Man, that was good. Man, there's no better way.
There's no better to close out the show, right?
That, man. Thank you, Oche.
Oche, appreciate you, brother.
We are excited to see where you take your travel accessory brand, luxury travel accessory brand, all the great things you continue to do. Hope to have you back on the show in the future.
Right, and also, Key, I didn't mean to cut you off, but tell us how listeners, viewers, like where can they access your product?
Yep. And y'all ain't even asked me for this. But this is to the man that lives in the street, refusing to go home till his children can eat. Ready to face the elements, barely taking as relevant, never shaking a belly when even faced with a felony. Government, please, I can flex muscle and make the whole world just drop to its knees. He came from the hood like most greats do, but it don't take much for people to hate you. They gather around the table. They started plotting, planning. People start lying on them. Even his buddies ran. This is the story of a really troubled man, and yet it give me courage whenever I'm struggling. This is an epic tale, never to be compared. And if they ever ask it, and tell them that Jesus cares. He is the reason behind any of us being here. I hope the music don't keep the message from being clear. Get it? Yo, you can check me out at www.ocheigboyi.com. That's Oche, Igboyi Oche Igboyi. That is Oche Igboyi. Oche Igboyi.com.
Hey, appreciate you, brother. It was an honor to have you on the talk show, man. Thank you.
This is the Pepper Soup Talk Show.
Yep.
We're here with Oche Igboyi. We'll see you next time.
Next time.